Let me know when it's gone live, because then I'm going to share it on my
Meeting's
page.
now streaming live on Facebook.
Oh, right. Let's get this up. Hold on. Oh, wrong button. I'll tell you if we're live, Clive. I'll tell you if we're live, mate. I just realised something. Yes, we're live. We're live, and I've got the same top on as I had on last time when we went live. I'm a pikey. Right. Share to your page. Share to a page. Right.
I'm waiting.
Are you waiting? Right on.
Come on.
Go.
Ready?
Go on, man. We're live.
Gentlemen and ladies, we are live on the second live broadcast of the Men on Form podcast. Gentlemen and ladies, what's the rumour?
You've been practicing that, haven't you?
I'm working on it, mate. Bit of shower work, you know.
Let me just get we've got a viewer, so let me just
We've got a viewer.
We've got a viewer. Stay with us. Don't go. Stay.
We've got everything. Yeah, we've got everything you'll learn in the next sort of 45 minutes hour will be life changing.
Life changing.
Michael, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. All good in the hood. Kids, you might hear a little bit of noise and see a little bit of activity behind me. They have the little rugrats running around. They're building castles out there with cardboard, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm excited. How are you?
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
How is it in Maxheath Towers?
The Maxheath Towers, as you can see.
Yeah.
Surrounded by coffee cups, prams,
nappies,
other bits and nappies. Yeah, all good, man. All good. Obviously, bit of a confusing start to the week, sort of politically. I don't know if we want to go into that too much.
Well, what was that?
Some mixed messages from the our government, but yeah, let's not dwell on that too much. But yeah,
let's go in. I did. What was the mixed messages, man? I don't know. Like, is it? I don't know. I know. Take a shit if you need a shit, but if you don't need a shit, don't take a shit. Right? Go out if you need to go out, but don't go out and stay indoors and save lives. Yeah. Go to work if you need to go work, but don't go to work. Yeah.
It's bizarre. To say the least, especially at a time where we really need some clarity. But keep calm and carry on, man. Keep calm and carry on.
I need a piss, but do I really need to go piss? Should I go piss? I don't know, mate. I just don't know. I'm hungry, but do I need to?
They're trying to satisfy, obviously, the whole health thing, and then the economics. It's and they're sort of gone down the middle, and it's sort of
no good for no one, that man.
Hard, but we're not going to dwell on that today. We are going to focus on. Well, initially, mate, tell me a bit about this documentary, man, the Chicago Bulls thing on Netflix, because you're the third guy that's mentioned it to me. I've got it lined up. I'm on the Sunderland Until I Die series.
Are you enjoying
that? I'm loving it, mate. Yeah,
it's brilliant, isn't it?
Particularly as I'm a season ticket holder at Charlton, so I know the league very well, and obviously. I mean, there's any spoilers, mate. That obviously they played Charlton at the start of that season and they played Charlton at the end, and so as I say, I know a lot about that league. So no, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. If you're a football fan at whatever level, that's worth a watch. But yeah, man, this Bulls thing. I've got it lined up for after this Last Dance, man. I mean, apparently it's just
fucking phenomenal, man. Like for me, like I've said to you before, like over the years, I've just become obsessed with. I've always been obsessed with successful people. Micheal Jordan has always been. Oh, just one thing, man. If you listen, guys, if you're watching this on my page, because I shared this on my page, jump on over to the Men on Form page and on the live stream. Because if you put comments or anything or ask any questions, I don't know if I'll see it on the stream, sort of thing. So if you have got any questions, just come onto the Men on Form page. I've just loved Micheal Jordan. I just loved his mindset, success. Even when I was doing the stuff that I was doing and I wasn't living my life that way, I was always obsessed with Micheal Jordan and how he done the things that he done and stuff like that, man. Because there's no doubt about it. It's like him, Wayne Gretzky, two people that I massively admire. And they're two of the greatest sportsmen ever, and it's just Micheal Jordan was just at this other level. And it's all about documenting the Chicago Bulls and their last season and it's called The Last Dance. And I won't give too much away, but it goes into how Michael Jordan was on the court and how Michael Jordan was as in a person. And we just got to the point where his dad passed away. It had me in tears this morning. Had me in tears, man. Like when he was like, that was his life, man. His dad was his best friend and everything, mate. And it's just a fucking phenomenal program. And you get to see like, and I shared a video on this the other day. And it's like, you had Dennis Rodman, that was a very, very good player, right? Very good player, very unique,
and a character,
and a character, right? And he had that, but what he didn't have is he didn't have that handle. He didn't have the grip on his edgy dark side, right? And you had Michael Jordan, that was just at a whole nother level, and he had a handle and a grip on his dark side, and he used it, right? And he didn't go off the rails and things like that, where Dennis Rodman, and it shows all that, and the whole psychology behind it between Rodman, Pippen, and
Pippen.
It's phenomenal, mate.
Yeah, I read it was a long time ago, a biography on him, Jordan, because I had a bit of a similar obsession with him. I was a Phoenix Suns fan though back in the day. Charles Barkley was my man, but there was something about him, some of his mindset and approaches to things. And I'll never forget his coach at the time was way ahead of his game, right? And he would, one of the things that they would do, they would do like a 10-minute meditation piece as part of their training. So in terms of sort of mental fitness, I think that, I don't know if they cover that in a documentary, but
I've got the book
that really stood out to me. Yeah, that kind of mental. They were ahead of the game in terms of the mental side of sport, I think, with the Bulls, and some of the ways they just, that some of the things they did as a team, and how they, how clear and focused he was in those dying seconds of games, Jordan. Just phenomenal. But I've got it lined up. I'll definitely be picking it off. Recommend any of our watchers, listeners here, if you're into sports, whatever sport, psychology, success, that is well worth a look, man.
The mindset, and there's a book recommendation, and the guy's called Tim Grover, and he's got a book.
Okay, I've heard of him.
Relentless.
Yeah,
and he was Michael Jordan's kind of trainer, and he was kind of a mindset trainer as well. And he's got a book called Relentless, but he worked with Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, and he's worked with all the best. And he says in his book, Michael Jordan said to me one time, he said, "Listen, I pay you, so no one else works with you." Because like Michael Jordan was like, "I will let you," to his trainer, this guy, he said, "I'll let you train other people, but when I come calling, you drop them like that because I'm paying you this thing." So
locked him down, right? He recognised that he was providing something, coaching him mentally in that way. That's incredible.
Tim Grover, he's a really interesting cat, man. He's I like him. His book Relentless is very good, man. And the book's all about the psychology and the mental kind of toughness that like Kobe Bryant built and Michael Jordan built, and it's just brilliant, man. But the documentary, The Last Dance, fucking, I sat there and I'm like, once it's done, I'm going to rewatch this again, mate. It's fucking brilliant.
And if you want to go behind the scenes of a football club, particularly one in decline at the time, at Sunderland Till I Die, is
watch Spurs play football.
Let's not talk. Don't say that. Don't even talk. We're not even we're gonna leave the part of football there, because we got a good topic, man, to get into today.
Yep.
And it's something that really came about the last couple of weeks. Something me and you, Mike, have been talking about sort of over WhatsApp, particularly with a lot of what's going on, and that's like making a stand, and standing for something. And it's sort of definitely evoked a few things in me around like, what do I stand for? It's a great question to ask ourselves. What do I stand for? Because there's loads of things we can stand for. There's loads of sides we can join and initiatives we can get involved in. But I think personally, spending some time reflecting on what do I stand for me, particularly in the last weeks, has been a really interesting process. And we'll just start off, mate, just getting into like what it means to us as a silent. So what does standing for something mean to us? Mike, we'll start with you, man. What does standing for something mean to you when I say that? If I say, what do you stand for? What does that mean in the context of kind of the psychology of it, and what it means in terms of your actions as well?
I think for me, like taking it another step further, is kind of like the question I asked you, wasn't it? It's like, what are you willing to die for? You know, there's things that I'm actually
Yeah.
I would be willing to die for. There's things that I would be I I, I stand for. There's beliefs, and beliefs. Well, I say there's just certain things that are really important to me. Like one of them for me is like freedom, right? That's important for me. Like standing for that. And it may be something like, for example, there might be something that's happening and you might get really irritated about it, right? So I'm going to share this, and it could be really controversial, right? It can be really controversial, but understand this: I'm not telling or advising people what to do here, right? So this is going to be controversial for a lot of people, but I'm not telling people what to do or anything here. I'm just telling my beliefs and what I stand for. So this whole thing that's happened, and then there's the thing that come out about mandatory vaccinations, right? Now, if I say this and you get really agitated, okay, just ask yourself why you're getting agitated with it, right? I'm not trying to be
or maybe that you stand for mandatory vaccinations.
Exactly.
That's the other side of it, and that's fine as well. It's
that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. If that's your thing, it's absolutely fine. So just make me stand on this. Now, when the mandatory vaccinations come out, I'm not for vaccination. I'm not against vaccinations. I'm just not for what they put in the vaccinations, right? All the mercury, heavy metals, just all the stuff they put in there, right? Because I've done my research before we was having our kids, because I had a choice to make. So now people say to me, "Oh, what have you got against vaccinations? Like this mandatory vaccination, what have you got against them?" Well, here's the thing for me: it goes even deeper than the vaccination. The mandatory vaccination, when they start coming out, going right, mandatory vaccinations, everyone's be vaccinated. For me, that is taking away individual sovereignty from people, right? That's taking away people's right to choose what they have and don't have in their body. Right. And that is a fight that I am willing to die for, Clive, because for me, that's important.
Talked about this as well when I had my kid. You really put the spotlight on this for me, got me thinking.
And because for me, it's like, if they say to you, you have to do this, this is what you've got to do, then what happens next, right? So for me, that's important, and it's important for my kids. But let me just say this again: if you choose to do that, listen, that's absolutely fine. I'm more than happy to sit down and have a conversation with anyone and just find out why and what your beliefs are, and that's absolutely fine. I haven't got a problem with that, Clive. Do you know what I mean?
So you're making a stand for, I don't know, informed vaccinations or choice?
Choice. That's what it is. Choice.
You'll make a stand for choice around vaccinations.
Yeah. That's my stand. So like, I would march. I would go to London. I would protest against mandatory vaccinations. Not vaccinations should stop. Not that vaccinations. No one should have vaccinations. If you believe wholeheartedly that's the way forward, I totally respect your opinion and I respect your choice. For me, it's all about choice and freedom, right?
Okay.
That's what I stand for there. So when I talk about that, people say, "Cool, you get very angry about it." I don't get angry, because anger, and we said this before, like passion and anger, people get it confused. I'm just passionate about it because for me, people should have that choice. It shouldn't be taken away from them. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And obviously there's some rules in the world. We need kind of rules to keep. If football didn't have no rules, it'd be fucking chaos, right, Clive?
Yeah, of course. Saying about freedom, I mean, where do you think, in terms of laws, I mean,
you can't go around just killing people, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, I get to choose what I put in my body and stuff like that. So that's a fight that I would fight for, and freedom. And this relates to like my coaching and helping men. Men do not feel free in themselves. Right, they don't think they've got a choice over what's going on from them. They're stressed, they're anxious, they're overwhelmed, they feel lost, and they think life's happening to them, and they don't realize that they've got a choice, and they don't realize that they've got that freedom's there for them. So I've got
a proportion of men.
Yeah, proportion. So I fight that cause. That's a fight that I would fight for. So just that's what it means to me, man. That's what it means to me. And I know when we spoke, it brought up so much for you, especially when I said to you, what are you willing to die for?
It's hit me like a like a bullet in the head. It was. I just think I haven't spent that much time. I think there's sort of, for me, maybe, for example, with how you're informed around your vaccination piece and everything there, I'm not as informed And so I've got general things I stand for, like general ideas and values. And it's more like I represent these things. They are part of me rather than I make a stand for them. And I think there's a difference between like modeling something and making a stand for something. Because there's a difference between you modeling, for example, how you navigate vaccination choices with your children, and then you making a stand for it. But by taking action, for example, being vocal, you are taking a stand for it and encouraging conversation. So right now, for me, you're taking a stand, where you can also model something, but not necessarily take the stand, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The key thing is for me here is like have, if you want to do this, because we don't want to make this about vaccines, but just like have a balanced perspective. Like, this is what I say to people, like, you don't have to do anything, but, just don't take one side fits all. Like, because people go, oh, I totally agree with you. And I say, yeah, but now go and look at the pro sides of vaccines if you want to. Go and look at the other side of it.
Yeah.
Don't just agree with me, right? You need to kind of do your research. This is the thing, like the choice to research.
Well, the thing is as well, Michael, I mean, to do research these days, I mean, it is, to do proper research into something, proper research takes a lot of time. And I think sometimes, I've been blocked from making stands because I haven't got the time to do the appropriate research. Therefore, I stay on the sides. And there's a difference, talking about modeling versus making a stand. Like, I mean, I'm vegetarian, have been for, I don't know, 10 years since I came back from traveling, which 9-10 years. I don't make a stand for vegetarianism. I'll take to the streets. I'm not part of the vegetarian society. It's not something I could take a stand for it, but it's not. It's just something that I've chosen that's right for me at the moment.
You're not throwing buckets of blood over people then?
No, but so I'm modeling it. But the difference for me, again, it's all very personal, but the difference for me with making a stand is when you represent, you sort of go to war almost. I think when I was promoting this particular broadcast, and I'm reading a book about that battle, the 300 battle. Can't remember the name of the battle itself now off the top of my head. It begins with a T, and how those men took a stand. Stand against a mighty army again.
Freedom,
and it's like
future freedom.
I think and I'm gonna just own this. I don't think I've taken a stand for much because I've chosen more to model in the past, rather than taking too much of a stand. One either because obviously taking a stand means potentially confrontation and facing things coming the other way, which I think I've been quite good at avoiding in the past. And the other thing is I've been more appropriate to model, and so that's kind of been my natural go-to. And sometimes actually not having the time or feeling like I haven't got the time or wanting to research everything, like I know politically, for example, I'm not that well read. I totally own that because I haven't taken the time, so I don't take much of a stand. But then when you start getting into values and modeling values, then for me, that's where it gets kind of, I mean, I've spent a lot of time being coached around values and my values. And then I think the challenge for me, the invitation for me moving forward is to stand more, is to move from modeling so much in certain areas and make a stand. And that's what your question challenged me to do a couple of weeks ago. And something I do stand for is coaching. And doing this work and making it accessible to as many people as possible, and particularly men making informed decisions about coaching as well, and the men's piece, because I know coaching can be an incredibly powerful resource for men, but one, either because they're not informed, or two, because there's some kind of disconnect between, our world, Michael. There is other parts of our world. There is a lot of kind of sort of fluffy language. It's all seen as being a bit like woo-woo and a bit kind of. But for that, I think that puts a certain proportion of guys off. So I do make a stand for that, and that's why I blog, I post, I do quite a lot there. So just that.
So when you say model, could you give a little bit more of a what do you mean by that? So when you say you don't stand for something but you model something?
Yeah. So I for example model vegetarianism.
Right.
but I don't make a stand for it.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's the clarification I wanted. I just wasn't clear when you were saying that. Okay, cool. Yeah,
And
I
it
actually
would
watched.
be like you modelling your process with vaccinations, but not making a stand for it. I'm not going to start getting vocal about vegetarianism and all of that. It's not that's not the cause that I want to fight. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually watching an episode on John Joseph. The guy's name is. Have you heard of John Joseph?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a 54-year-old ultra marathon guy, and he was on Joe Rogan, and
Right.
I think it was an old one, and someone just put me onto it, and I was watching it, and I'm like, I've watched this one already, but he was saying like he's like plant-based. He says plant-based, and he says I don't identify myself as a vegan. I don't identify myself as a vegan. I don't identify myself as stuff like that. I'm just plant-based. He said because it's very easy to get caught up in that us and them. They're doing that. They're doing this, and
Yep.
It was just interesting to listen to that. He said, look, I just invite people. This is what I've done that changed my life and made me feel better about myself, and made me feel better. So I encourage people to do that. But I'm not going, you've got to be a vegan.
For me, he's modelling. He's not making a stand.
Yeah,
for me. I mean, here's a definition that I think can really help us.
So you would say as well, just quickly, am I modelling or making a stand? Now, I'd make a stand and go for a walk to protest against mandatory vaccinations, but I'm not going to people, no, you shouldn't vaccine. I'm just saying, be well informed and make a conscious choice instead of just being told this is what you've got to do or this is what's best for you.
Yeah, but there's two different elements to that, right? There's you're not saying you do this. You're saying you make an informed decision before you do this, and you're making a stand for that. Okay. So maybe the idea of making a stand in my head does you mentioned it, protesting, going in being confrontational, but there is maybe another idea where making a stand's maybe about educating. So I'm making a stand for men's coaching by I spend quite a lot of time educating men on what coaching is and what it can do for them and when to access it. So I make my stand for coaching and coaching men by educating, rather than going to the streets and saying you should coach, you should get a coach. It's a different energy, right? So I guess what we're opening up here is sort of avenues into different ways we can make a stand. And one is protesting, maybe one's educating, one's delivering presentations, one's having a podcast like this. But let me just here's a quote that I think will enrich our conversation, Michael.
Oh, I hope it does, Clive. I hope it does.
I bloody love a quote. Right, make a stand. Definition. I love a quote and a definition. I'll stand for that. Right.
You sure this ain't your quote and your definition, Clive?
I wish it was. Right, make a stand. This is ripped a couple of minutes ago off the internet. Right, make a stand. To publicly assert one's opinion or defense or opposition to something without relenting. I know voicing my opinion on this for example, I know voicing my opinion on this legislation may put my job in jeopardy, but it's time to make a stand. So something. Go on, Mike. How does that resonate to you? Me sharing that. Is that
one's opinion? I don't just.
Yeah.
It's just something without relating. I know voicing my opinion and legislation may put my job in jeopardy. Yeah. So what does that stand for me? Is like voicing my opinion. Voicing my opinion like what you said. For me, it goes back to this. Like I can voice my opinion, and I think a lot of people. Right, let's not go there. Hold on. Let's go with me. It's just going to go somewhere else there. But it can be very hard for people, and including myself sometimes, to voice this, right? And this is why a lot of people don't always share what's important to them or what's true for them, because of the fear of upsetting people. That's what that kind of says to me. Like jeopardizing friendships, jeopardizing relationships, and jeopardizing family, like being sectioned from family members and things like that. Like, there's people. For me, and this is a conversation I was having this morning. We a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people in this world we live in today, Clive, have kind of lost the art of having a constructive debate about things. Like it's not okay if like you go to me, Michael, no, I'm all for vaccinations. I'm like, oh, fuck off, Clive. Fuck off. I'm not talking to you anymore. It's kind of like, it's kind of, for me, that's what that represents for me. It's like, it's not okay to have different views and have a conversation, understand why does that person believe that? Why is that important to them? Right?
Yeah.
Instead,
it's okay.
just like,
it's okay to disagree, right?
yeah, and it's good to have healthy debates
It
on
is,
things.
definitely.
You know what I mean? And like,
Definitely.
okay, but I'm more curious to know, like, okay, so why do you believe that? Why do you believe this? Well, it's because this or that. Okay, I can see that. I understand that. And just having a healthy debate and still being friends about it, you know. And I'll openly admit, in my early days of doing this stuff, people that didn't believe what I believe, I'd be like, "Fuck off! I don't want to talk to you anymore." Right? So I fell into that trap myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my old approach particularly would be, again, to model and avoid.
Yeah.
Avoid makers. Just avoid any of that.
Yeah.
So I'll model this, but I'm not going to get into a debate about it or make a stand on it because I don't want to. Yeah, I don't
upset the apple cart. That's what that means. That's what that means to me. Is like,
be quiet. I've got previous for that as well.
Be quiet. Don't speak up because I'm worried about upsetting the apple cart and who I'm going to upset. So that's what that means to me, man. Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, I think, I mean, obviously I have to mention social media, which I do every podcast, but obviously there is a whole other area where I think what has happened.
Zuckerberg said he's getting pissed off with you.
I need to do the social media pop. But what you've got happening is where people wouldn't necessarily go and make a stand on the street, and or make a stand in terms of going on stage for a debate with someone. People, the old keyboard warriors, people are happy to make a stand on Twitter, for example. So what's been quite interesting to see is like, well, I won't make a stand in terms of standing opposite you and having this debate, but what I will do is debate with you on Twitter, where I can just run away at any point and also maybe even disguise who I am. So I think social media has both opened up a real space for a lot more healthy debate and real debate, but also it's opened up sort of almost like a shadow play as well, where people are maybe not having a pure debate because it's not that in person. They're not being confronted by that person and being, having to deal with the potential of a real live conflict, which is really interesting, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely changed the way we do communicate, and it has give a platform for, which I think is right as well. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
I think it's healthy, man. I mean, some of the debates on Twitter and stuff are incredibly healthy and incredibly enriching conversation, but there's also a sort of dark side to that.
Yeah.
Where people, when it gets called on, it's like, well, no, actually, I'm not going to go out on the streets, or I'm not going to come and meet you for an actual conversation about this. I'll just stay sort of on the couch. And by the way, this isn't actually me. It's a different, I'm representing someone completely different with my profile and stuff. So
yeah, and I've been guilty of that, especially with like politics. Like, I'd complain about things in politics, and then my cousin's very much into it, and he went on a march a little while ago about protesting about when like certain things that were going on, and he said, "You coming along?" And I went, "No, I'm not coming." And he just blatantly just said, "Well, that's part of the problem, Mike. You talk about it, but you're not prepared to do anything."
Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean,
yeah, and
I've never protested. I've never ever protested.
I've never protested. Never protested.
Oh, I'm that.
But it got me thinking. Is like, actually, I talk about it, but I just don't really give that much of a fuck about it. So that's why I'm not going to protest with it. Like with the vaccination thing, I would be up there marching because that's something I really give a fuck about. So it was just interesting.
So there's taking a stance on something, as in talking about something, but then there's making a stand, which is actually going out there with you, on the picket line and making a stand.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Interesting. Have you ever sort of thinking, like, sort of moving on, like times that you've made a stand and how it's gone, where you consider you've made a stand, and whether that's, online, offline, on the protest line? Can you think about any times where you've made a stand and what happened? Did it all break apart, or did it lead to healthy debate? Like,
I've kind of voiced my opinion a few times around. So at the beginning of COVID-19, there was a couple of things like with like with the news and things like that, and I was kind of like, man, they're only giving us one. Like, again, with all of this, and I ain't going to go into that because people. I'm not even going to go into that.
You're not going to make a stand for that right now.
No, but for me, like I have these conversations with my wife, and I speak to people that are kind of, because this is a very charged thing. what's
Yes.
going on. But I talk to people about it. But you know, like the news and stuff like that, it's only going to give you one-sided. So my whole thing is about empowering people to have a choice and go out and maybe look at the other side of things that maybe they're not quite seeing, right? So I have done that with vaccines. Like you only see, oh, the vaccines, these miracle things, there's all this, but then you don't see, you know, behind the scenes, the lawsuit that's being covered up for Bill Gates because of all this that's gone on in India. You don't see the lawsuit thing that they've got set up as a payment for paying out for people that are injured from vaccines. You don't see that. I think it's polio at the moment. It's had a massive outbreak in Nigeria and stuff like that because of a vaccine. As soon as they stopped the vaccine, then the outbreak started going down. But you don't see that on mainstream news, right? So that's kind of like, I have protested against that sort of thing. I've made my voice for that, but it's not always led to healthy debates, man. It's not always led to healthy debates, and people get very irritated by it, and I understand, right? And it's just not always been a healthy debate, mate. You know, so and sometimes I have to check in with myself, because sometimes what I can understand is, let's say, for example, you've got someone that's very vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Very vulnerable, and they believe that vaccines are great and the vaccine's going to help them. You've got me that's coming up and saying something, it could trigger them, and I know it's not my responsibility, but I have a due diligence as how I deliver myself and what I do say on social media. So I just be a little more careful now. I've got just a little bit more clever around things, not just going to flap my gums and shout shit off when in fact I just take in consideration that there's other people that are much more educated than that. You know, there's a lot more doctors that are talking about this stuff. Well, actually, this ain't as healthy as they're saying it is. This isn't all that it's made up to be. So I leave that kind of thing to them, man. So yeah, I have, man. I had a lot of pushback when I didn't vaccinate my kids from my family, and that I had a lot of pushback from that. Even the doctors. I remember when my first boy was born, and they put they wanted to vaccinate him with the K2, and I had some organic natural drops. And the doctor was like, "You've got to have the vaccine." I was like, "No, we don't." And straight away they turned to my wife, and they're trying to get my wife on board, because they know. And she said to me, "I'm going to go and get the head doctor." And I said, "Listen, love, you could go and get the fucking Queen if you want. I'm not injecting that into my baby. I've got the K2 here, you know." So yeah, you know, but it's my energy and how I come across it. I have to check in, man. If I get because I can get passionate and it seems aggressive, that puts people's backs up, man. So yeah,
fair enough.
So yeah, man. What about yourself? Have you ever?
I think my stands have been more personal ones when I have felt taken advantage of, particularly around time, and when someone's wasted my time, because I don't know, valuing, it's like respecting people's time is a big thing for me. I will make a stand if I feel someone is really sort of taking a piss in that sense. And I dealt with
we had it, didn't we? We had it that time when you had to have a conversation with me. Do you remember?
Yeah.
The podcast when I said to you, "Oh, just do that, Clive. Get on with it," and you sent me a message with it, like, "Why would you think that I would just do that?" My time. I was like, "Oh yeah," and you had that uncomfortable conversation. I could see.
Okay. Well, there's an example of that being triggered. But I like clarity and clear boundaries, and I like fairness. And I understand life is not always fair. God, don't. Yeah, I'm not going to start I'm not going to make a stand for that. But I like fairness where it can be applied or controlled somehow. And at work, when I used to organisation I used to work for, was on a particular project, and this sort of project manager just was just taking the piss. Basically, she was asking me to do something and then not do it, and then do it and not do it. And I had to take a stand, man, and I had a pretty heated conversation with her on the phone, and then the next week she apologized and was very nice to me from there on. But it was, I had to stand my ground there. I mean, and I think my natural sort of I'm a bit of a pleaser, Michael, and then sometimes that can then trigger something, and then I have to make a stand. So it's something I'm again learning to sort of live with and sort of catch and adapt to. But and it did lead to her sort of backing down and sort of but I'm definitely going to be looking to take more
I can't. Can you hear me? You've gone off. Your volume's gone. No, volume's gone. On here. Can anyone that's watching? Can you just put in the comment? I don't know. I can hear you now. Hold on.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you've gone really echoey though, man.
Yeah, I've just unplugged the.
That's better. Go on, talk now.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's it. You're back.
Back online. Yeah, lost
back in the game.
So, no, it's definitely got me. I mean, this whole conversation sort of started a few weeks ago. And now we're having it, playing it out live time. Got me thinking about what I will make a stand for in the future, and potentially protest for, and all that sort of stuff. Definitely.
I've got a second one actually.
Go on, Bradley.
I did go back to White Hart Lane and protest when Sol Campbell went to Arsenal and then come back to Tottenham for the first game, and it wasn't a pleasant protest from me. Let's just say when the Arsenal coach come down, it wasn't a pleasant protest from me. So there was something else I stood for.
Yeah.
Loyalty.
Well, there you go. I mean, that brings us on really quite nicely into sort of third section in the podcast, and saying, how do we know when and where to make a stand? I mean, there's so many places and things we could make stands on, or model. How do we know? And I think, I can start with this. I think a good guide is values.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
And from my experience, if we don't know our values, we can explore where they are. And one way of exploring them is when something really triggers us and makes us feel sort of angry and frustrated. That's one potentially identify that there's one of your values that's been trampled on or been jeopardized. And the others, when you feel sort of passionate and fired up and energized, and that's maybe an indication that you're playing into one of your values there. Like you're enjoying, like sport, one of my values. Competition's one of my values, and when I'm in competition, in good competition and healthy competition, I really enjoy that, and vice versa. So I think if we're wanting to sort of start to explore when and where to make a stand, you could do a lot worse than starting to explore your sort of value system and what things you value, and then as you sort of harvest there, you'll in my experience start finding things that you stand for.
I totally agree, man. Like, prime example is when you had to have that conversation with me. I trampled on one of your values, right? It was time wasting, and that's like one of your highest values, right? Also, as well, what's also I've seen that's quite high in your values, and you could correct me, is like you say a lot about fairness, things being fair, and life's not fair.
Yeah, it's I'll have to sort of and
it's like me going, no, you do
battles for that one.
Yeah, Clive, you do this. And it hit two of those things, right? You do this, so it's not only just your time, but it's also like, well, that's not fair. I'm doing extra legwork here. Do you know what I mean? So
I understand. I think the way I've made my peace with it, I understand life's not fair. Yeah. I understand, we're all born into different countries. There's so many things that are unfair in life, but there are certain variables and where fairness can be controlled.
Yep.
And something that majorly triggered me is around football. And particularly when Chelsea and City got their money and how that impacted. And I know other teams have got other money, but I think the unfairness of that sort of competition, especially football at that level, at the Premier League level, and the unfairness in terms of the disparity, in terms of financial investments and where the money comes from and all of that, led me to maybe looking and getting more into the NFL. Because in the NFL, they have salary caps. And they have the draft system, so the teams that finish down the bottom get the first picks in the draft. So there's this kind of like there's sort of things are still unfair. The Dallas Cowboys have a far greater franchise reach than, I don't know, the Buccaneers, for example, although they have just signed Brady. But they've got things in place to try and sort of encourage more fairness. I would like to see a wage cap in football, for example. But yeah. Sorry, that's kind of an example.
That's cool, man. No, that's perfect, man. No, values is important, man. Like a lot of people don't know what they value in life, and your actions will like things that you get fired up and passionate about is probably because it's high on your values.
Yeah,
And a lot of people, again, like I said, a lot of people go, "Oh, you're getting a bit angry there," and like. It's like, no, man, I'm just passionate about this. Do you know, I'm really passionate.
Yeah, but it can tip over into anger, man. I mean,
it definitely can.
Definitely can.
It definitely can if you don't get a check on that. But I think sometimes, a lot of times, the people kind of go, oh, he's angry. When it's like, no, I'm not being angry. I'm just passionate about it, you know. And as well, it's okay to be angry at times, right? It's okay to be angry.
Definitely.
It's aggression. Unnecessary aggression where the problem is, when the anger goes into unnecessary aggression. But values, man, definitely. I definitely think.
Yeah, I mean, I work with values in my work quite a lot, in my coaching work. So when I'm working with a client, I always encourage us to explore their values and get in touch with those, because I know as a coach, if I can evoke those values in that particular client, and the propensity for them to then take on the actions and follow through with what they're wanting to achieve, it increases, mate, if it's in line with their values. So values and making stands are two very important things. So so rich, man, such a rich, we could go on this. I'm mindful of time, but such a rich area, man.
Definitely. And if you find yourself getting pulled to something, and like for example, like I said, if you're like, oh, that geezer's talking shit, I'm all for vaccines, well then you'll try and find that, you'll find out that you've got a value there somewhere, you know.
And something you might want to make a stand for, or model, or sort of how you want to take that. So anything else, Michael, before we sort of
no, man, I think we covered quite a bit there,
it's a rich, as I say, a very rich topic. Cover at the end of the show, but I mean, if this has fired up anything in you, or you want to start a conversation with us, you can contact us at menonform@gmail.com, or via the Facebook page if you're watching this on Facebook right now, or picking this up later on. Wide open for sort of feedback, and interested to hear how it's resonating with you guys out there. If you've got questions for us, which is now leading on to the next part of the show, we're now starting to take questions. We're starting to get some questions in, Michael, from sort of listeners from around the globe. This is an international broadcasting setup we've got here at the Men on Form. You agree with that?
World famous, isn't we? We're world famous now.
This comes a lot of countries out there, man.
This question you told me comes from the darkest depths of Russia or something, doesn't it? Chekhov sent this.
Not quite.
Chekhov, or it could be from the Starship Enterprise.
It could be, or it could be from Peckham. I think it's more likely from Peckham. But
Pitsy or Peckham, mate. Double P. So we're just going to take this question. This came in from Dave. Thank you, Dave. So Dave says, "Hi guys, love the show. Wanting to ask a quick question. You both mentioned at different points physical training. Was wondering how you guys are adapting since the lockdown. I've struggled since the gym closed and could use some tips and inspiration. He then says, stay on form, gents," like that. Thanks for your question, Dave. Really appreciate that. Michael, what is that? How are you dealing with your physical training with the gyms closed and other bits and pieces? Because I know you were quite a gym rat. Gym rat. Thanks, mate. It's not been no different. Like, just adapted, man. Just as simple as that. Adapted. Like, I've got some kettlebells. I've got some bands. I could go in the garden, but I've been doing a lot of body weight, mate. I've been getting out for runs, long walks. I've been going over the hills, carrying logs up and down the hills. And just doing a lot of push-ups, finding a lot of bars to do chin-ups, and a lot of squats and sit-ups. And for me, I think it's more of a mindset, in the sense that I can only work out when a gym's open, or I need a gym to stay in shape and all that. But that's not true, man. You can just use anything. Like, I think another part of this, Clive, is people kind of, I can't get in the shape I want to without the gym, right? And I won't get in the shape that I want to with just body weight, so I'm not going to do it at all. But for me, it's just keeping the body moving, man. Keep the body moving. So it's keeping momentum going. So if you stop for a long period of time, when you stop, it's a lot harder to start again.
Yeah,
so it's just keeping the body moving, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely resonate with that. I can resonate with your struggle as well, Dave. I wouldn't say a gym rat. I'm more like a gym hamster, but I like the structure of the gym, and I like having the place I work out sort of out of the home more often than not. I miss that escape, sort of release, I suppose. But it's about keeping moving. So I sort of took me a few weeks to sort of redesign my training for the spring. I adapt my training for the seasons. So I'm spring training at the moment, and I was going to get onto some spinning at the gym. They had all these sort of online in the spinning class studio with these videos and stuff, loads of challenges and stuff. And I was really going to attack that, and obviously that all closed down. So I've adapted on a 5 kilometer time trial at the moment. So I'm sort of training for that. I've got a target of going under 22 minutes 30 by the 22nd of June. So that's what I'm working towards. And I've got a little program. My mate Rob's helping me accountable with that. He's a runner, experienced runner. So, and then I've got some of these resistance bands.
Yeah, resistant bands. Yeah.
So I've got some of those in for strength training, and like you, Michael, just kind of adapting and playing with it a little bit, and maybe not achieving the results I would achieve if I was back in the gym. But obviously, I'm keeping moving, and I'm making sure my body is in a good place for when I get back in the gym as well. So it doesn't all the work that I've done previously kind of falls away. And I train as much for my mind as I do for my body. I totally own that. Like I really, the mental release I get from training is ridiculous. And how different I feel after my training. So Dave, get moving and adapt. Think about ways you can adapt, man. There's a lot of
it doesn't have to be
now
perfect.
is where it doesn't have to be perfect, man. Yeah, good enough now is better than perfect next week. Hey,
one of the guys in my group was like, when he started training, it's like, oh, like for chest press, I need to do incline, decline, this climb, that climb. I'm like, man, just get in the, like, it was stopping him from actually going to the gym.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing.
I've had that before.
And it's, do I do a decline, do an incline? I'm like, dude, just get in there and push some weights about. Like, get a program, chest, back, legs, abs, shoulders, just get going and then adapt it as you go and build on it, man. Like, don't let this overwhelm of, so I need to do this, I need to do that. It's simple, man.
And I mean, if you are struggling on your own, Dave, then there's a lot of really good personal trainers do a lot of good stuff now online.
Exactly.
I mean, we had. I mean, I'll mention him because we've had him on the show. Paul Harrold. He was one of our early episodes. I think it was like 12 or 13. If you want to go back and listen to him, I mean, he's my personal trainer. I sort of dip in and out with him. If you want someone to Paul Harrold, he's on that's HARRILD. He's on Instagram. He's just rebuilding his website at the moment. He's an incredible personal trainer. Does some great online stuff. So there's a recommendation direct off the bat, but there's some good stuff out there, mate. And you can get that accountability and support and personal trainers that will lead you through stuff. Thanks for your question. Appreciate it.
Well done.
So, anything else before we sign off, Michael? Particularly, what have you got going on at the moment, where guys can find you and all that stuff?
So if you're a guy and you're looking to improve your mental and physical, if you want to upgrade your mentally and physically, and you want to get a handle on kind of how you want to feel and start being more productive and creating better results in your life, then you can reach out to me at Micheal Hilton. I am MichealHilton.com on my Facebook page. It's probably the best place to reach out to me there. Or email me at micheal@michealhilton.com. MICHEAL. So I've got my 6-week groups going. We're just launching tonight. There's a bunch of us in the group tonight. Tonight's one is on taking back personal power, ownership, and responsibility, man. Sovereignty. Nice. So that's our session tonight. So it's all about getting back in control of how you think and how you feel, and start creating bigger, better results in your life. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me, man. How about yourself, Clive?
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm still I'm working one-to-one with guys at the moment. All my stuff's at www.mensactionproject.com. Offer a complimentary 45-minute coaching session as part of my service. So if you want to sort of try before you invest and have an experience of coaching, you can book in there with me. I work primarily with guys who are sort of either underwhelmed or overwhelmed. Who are looking to sort of redesign lives that are in balance and focused on what they truly want. 3 key areas: career, health, relationships. One of those or all 3. That tends to be like 95% of my target areas. So all the stuff, all the information about me is on the site there. That's where you can contact me. That's what I'm at.
I'm interested because we said we're going to do an episode on. We've done one on overwhelm, but we're going to do one this.
We're going to do an underwhelm,
Overwhelm, because I can't get my head around that. I never
underwhelm. Okay.
I
Yeah,
never
we
feel
can
mu-
do it. I
I never feel underwhelmed. So,
What?
I'm looking forward to that.
You call
I'm a
yourself a
student.
real you call yourself a real Tottenham fan?
Yeah, that's just disappointment, flat out.
That's deeper than underwhelmed.
Yeah, it's even underwhelmed.
Yeah, that's something else. But I mean, one thing just before we close off, and I can't help but mention this. A couple of weeks ago, guys, Micheal published a video talking about his story, and it's resonating with a lot of people out there. It's gone viral. It's on his page, but I mean, if you can go, if you want to go and watch it, it's on there now. But if you want, what we are going to do is reproduce that as a special sort of a special edition of Men on Form Pod, be one of our episodes this spring. But I want to just bring that up because yeah, that will probably drop that in a week or two. But that'll be coming a bit later in the season, so listen out for that. And Michael's really open and vulnerable about his experiences, particularly where he was sort of 4 or 5 years ago. And so that's the sort of one-off special, something a bit different. It's going to come that's come organically. That's going to be coming a bit later in the spring. You want to jump and watch that and listen to that right now? Head over to @I am Micheal.
I am Micheal Hilton.
I am Micheal Hilton. MICHEL.
It's kind of like I am Batman, so that's why I've done it. I am Micheal Hilton. But yeah, man, it's on there. It's actually on the Men on Form page as well.
Okay.
You dropped it on, I dropped it on the Men on Form page. It's on my page, guys. But yeah, it's like just the messages I'm getting from guys has just resonated so much. Like some guys just fucking, it's just unbelievable the messages I've got, and I had a really touching message the other day from a lady whose partner had actually she was trying to get her head around it. It's been confusing her for years. She said, I don't understand why he's done it. So that was nice as well, man. But yeah, check it out.
Definitely, that's there. And the other thing, obviously, if you've listened to this, enjoyed it, particularly if you're on the Facebook page, then below this video, I'll put a link where you can go and sort of subscribe and listen to the podcast. We're up to sort of like, I don't know, what's this, maybe 6th or 7th episode of this season. We've got 40 episodes from before, so there's loads on there. So, but if you've enjoyed the show, jump on there. You can subscribe or on Apple or we're on YouTube now. We've got the YouTube channel and Stitcher and other bits and places. So
all over the place.
Make sure you jump on there and subscribe. And wide open for feedback. As I say, you'll get a message about that at the end of this. So actually not at the end of this particular Facebook Live. You can contact us at menonform@gmail.com. Right. One final thing to do, and that is to say, if you're off form,
get back on form.
And if you're on form,
stay on form.
Do and be well all.
Donny the douche.